Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Tessa-Marie Show. Tonight, on the Tessa-Marie Show, we are going to discuss the pillar of mental prosperity. So, as you know, mental prosperity is one of the 5 pillars of prosperity. So, this is one of the important pillars. They're all important. They're all equal. So we have a whole series going, touching on all the pillars, one day for each pillar of the week. This is our theme. This is our niche. This is the dot. And without those 5 pillars working in unison, our life will not be fulfilled. We'll find that we're weak in one area, strong in another, but that strong area might weaken because now it has to pick up the slack where the other one is weakening. Very much like the fingers of our hand, where one finger get cut, and the other 4 fingers are trying their best to keep up and to do the work that was really done by the finger that's now sick. So the pillars work the same way. If one of your pillars is damaged, expect that the others are going to take a hit. Why? They're going to work harder. They have to do their own work and then do the work of that other pillar that is now weakened. They're going to take the stress. The stress becomes your stress. And it goes on, and so it continues and continues until you find yourself in that position where you do not know what it is you're doing. So, tonight's pillar, the pillar of mental prosperity, is really unique. Somebody said to me, Tessa-Marie, where did you get this idea from of mental prosperity, emotional prosperity, physical and spiritual prosperity? And they went further and said, I understand financial prosperity. That's the only thing I know you can be prosperous in finance. So I allow her to have her whole talk, and then of course her husband jumped in and said, yeah, we were talking about you the other night and thought, what is she talking about? How can one be prosperously, physically prosperous? And certainly, how can you be spiritually prosperous? So when they said that, I said, would you like me to answer you truthfully? Or would you like me to just let you have your say and listen quietly? They said, no, we would like to hear your take on it. I said, well, I talk about it on my pillars all the time. I said, the whole month of July is we started doing the pillars of prosperity. I said, so anything you have an abundance of, you're prosperous in that. If you have land, you're prosperous. And I said, knowing that they're Christians, I said, going back to the pillars, if you have a lot of children, according to the Old Testament, you were considered prosperous. I said, can you sell your children and get money for that? That was abolished. So you cannot trade your kids for cash. Can you? Okay? So they looked at me, then they looked at each other. Then I said, so here we go. I said, physically, if your physical health is fine and you're functioning on all cylinders are firing properly, naturally, you're prosperous. Do you get that? She said, so that's what you mean. So then, I said, I'm going to make a statement to you. Are we empowered? Do you think we are empowered to be mentally prosperous? If so, I said, how great would that be? To open our mind and let it be filled with prosperity. How wonderful would that be? So I said, of course, there are ways to be mentally prosperous. And we're mostly unaware only if we know what to do. We're unaware that we can be prosperous. We're unaware that we can work to gain mental prosperity. Mental prosperity can come about with transformation. Transformation of our thoughts and our mind is what will bring us mental prosperity. Transformation, positive transformation can come about only if transformation takes place. So how do we do that transformation? What do? What is it we can do as a human being to transform our mental ability to be prosperous? How do we do that? How do we acquire this kind of prosperity? What is the possibility of doing that? What will it do for us? Think about it. You're suddenly mentally prosperous. You have done something. And they just looked at me. I said, just imagine you have raised our consciousness to that level. And we raise our level of understanding of others. We raise our level of understanding of facts. We raise our understanding of science and literature and math and all the different wonderful opportunities to raise our level of understanding of this great and wonderful world we are sitting in. I said, so if you're full of all that wisdom of prosperity, mental ability to know what to do, when to do, to recall information you've been taught at school and apply it years later, isn't that prosperous? Of course not. They could not understand that. I said, but if you're prosperous that way and you're full of information that way, you can now find a job. You can now take a position somewhere. And that information that you know and you can recall and apply when necessary at will enable you to get a better job. And of course, that will bring you financial prosperity. But the stature of the job itself is a time of prosperity. So they started, you could see the light was turning on. And it was only when I shattered their beliefs that I realized, yes, the light is turning on. They're getting it. So I said, many times we go through the journey of life and we are unaware of that. When we learn and we develop new skills and knowledge, and then we develop the ability to recall those skills and knowledge when needed, that is mental prosperity. That is pulling it in and saying, I've got this. I know how to sort this out. I have the answer to this puzzle. I can fix the Rubik cubes. I can poke the cogs together and get the wheel to turn smoothly without any grinding on the metal. That is mental prosperity. Mental prosperity is finding that moment when we know we have clicked in. We develop these wonderful skills. We go to school for a long time, 4 years, 5 years, sometimes more years than you could think. And we develop skills. Look at a doctor. I think it's about 11 years after high school or more. But they get that skill. They get this knowledge. They understand the human body better than most of us. Look at an engineer. Without that information, they cannot recall what they should do with a bridge as a civil engineer, an electrical engineer. Look at the skills and knowledge they acquire. That gives them mental prosperity. They are now able to recall that information at will and apply it when it's necessary. But I went way to the top, to a doctor and to an engineer and all of these. But a pure, ordinary person. A natural-born salesman. A natural-born customer service person. They can hear in your voice. They can feel your energy. They know that you're hurting. So are we truly empowered to be mentally prosperous? I believe we are. And it is a great and wonderful thing to be mentally prosperous. Because when we are mentally prosperous, we become aware of others. We become aware of what there is happening. We transform ourselves. We learn better. We develop better information to others. Positive transformation can only come about when we raise our level of understanding each other. When we raise that level of understanding others, mental prosperity is a given. When you have mental prosperity, you are on your way to a great and wonderful life. So, when we get to that level and we are asking the question, how can we to acquire this kind of prosperity? One of the first things we need to do is to raise our consciousness. When we raise our consciousness, we are in the moment. We're right there in that moment of time, that single solitary moment that can be flipped in a second. By a blinking of an eye, that moment of consciousness is gone. So when my friend and her husband sat me down and questioned me about the ability to get mental prosperity, I took it as a wonderful, wonderful opportunity, not only to enlighten them, because you see, they had a crack. And as I said, it's only when there is a crack that the light will shine through. They had a crack. They couldn't understand the 5 pillars of prosperity. They understood one. Don't forget that. They understood the pillar of financial prosperity. And that's all. The only one they got. And man, they couldn't figure out the other 4 pillars. They couldn't associate prosperity with the other 4. They didn't understand if one was weak, why the others were going to fall apart. I explained the idea of your 5 fingers. One is weak and the others have to kick in to make up for the finger that's cut. In so doing, the glass slips out of your hand. The knife falls out of your hand. You're hardly able to button your own shirt or to pull up your own zipper. It's a lot more difficult to do personal hygiene when one finger is broken. So think, when the pillar of mental prosperity is weakened, what happens to the others? Because you see, your mental ability is what will give you the position in life you need to feed yourself. As I said, let us use a customer service rep. Not an engineer and not a doctor like I first said. There she is having to deal with a client. A client that is complaining about a situation. What does she do? She pulls on the skills that she learned 5 years ago when she first started the job. She pulls on those skills and she says to the customer, you know, I do not understand your situation, but I can feel that you're not having a good day. What can I do to help you? What it is you're looking for? What is the resolution we can come up with? You know where that information is coming from? Her resource. What she packed in her mind from before. Part of her training when she got the job. Part of her understanding when she stood in the position. And that is why she was able, in clarity, mental clarity, pull that information and use it to calm this customer down. To bring that customer level down. If she did not have these resources in her reservoir, what would happen? Between her and the customer, there would be a total disaster. So mental prosperity is something that we can acquire. This kind of prosperity, we must raise our consciousness. We have to be aware of what to do at a certain time. Mental prosperity can come about only if transformation of ourself and our mental capability and behavior takes place. Positive transformation can come about when we raise our level of understanding. How do we do that? We have to learn and develop skills and knowledge. And furthermore, even after we have developed those skills and knowledge, we have to then develop the ability to pull them in and use them when it is necessary to do so. That's what mental prosperity is the ability to take the information you learned and use it when it's needed and be able to recall it. This is why I always stress Emotional, which we did on Monday, and mental are actually two distinct things. Emotion is how you react to the information you're hearing or receiving. Mental is the ability to recollect what you learned and to apply it in the moment. So if your mental ability is not working, is the job going to get done? If you cannot recollect what you studied or what you were taught on the job. As you know, a degree just tells your employer or your future employer you have the ability to learn. That's what your 4 years says. This person has the ability to learn, and if you give them a task to perform and you give them a time, they're able to complete it in a given time. So that means when you come to work for them, they need to teach you how they want things done. And they know if they tell you it must be done in 2 weeks, you have the ability to do those 2 things. But the only way you had to do that, you had to do this for 4 years. You had to go there for 4 years, 5 years, whatever years it takes to get this done. And that is what mental prosperity is about. Once you have collected that knowledge and those skills, you now can go forward with this piece of paper and say, I am trained to follow directions. I am trained to do this. You can train me to do it how you want, and I can complete a task in the time you give me. This piece of paper tells you, I went there to learn, I learned, and I completed it in 4 years. And that's what the employer now has in his hand. And they will teach you what to do, and your mental ability, that is clear, will teach you how to push it forward, how to bring it forward when needed. So that's what your mental prosperity does. But it becomes prosperous because you have a lot of it. They can trust you. They know you have the ability. If you did not have the ability, you would not have this position. If mental prosperity is not working, if it's not aligned, if it's not pulling in the information from before, if that customer service clerk goes in crazy mode, you think this situation, if this unsatisfied customer is going to be finished, is she going to have it resolved? No. There are going to be 2 mad people having a war. Raise the resolution. But that customer service person has to have the ability to call this information forward and say, you know what? When they trained me with that job and they said that I will meet this kind of customers that are going to put me on the edge of the precipice, and it's up to me to stay there and balance myself. I need to take a deep breath. I need to calm myself and let the customer have their say. Eventually, they're going to be exhausted. They will have said what they have to say, and then I will be able to offer them a resolution. I will be able to meet them and tell them what I and my company are able to do with them. That is what your mental prosperity gives you, the power to be able to use the skills and knowledge you learn and recall them and apply them when they are needed and when it's necessary. So from the doctor that went 11 years after high school to become a full-fledged doctor, to the customer service rep, they both have to call on the information they were taught to be mentally prosperous. If any of them make a mistake, somebody dies in one case, or you lose a customer in the other case. And guess what? They're both devastating at different levels, but devastating all the same. So that's why mental prosperity is one of the best pillars you can have. Your ability to transform the information that you've learned. Learn and develop new skills mentally. And then take those skills and knowledge and use them and apply them when it's necessary, from the doctor, the engineer, to the customer service clerk at Walmart, who is dealing with somebody who bought a toy that was destroyed in one day. What is that customer service rep going to do? She will have more of those than the doctor and the lawyer. She will have more frustrated, dissatisfied customers. So her mental prosperity has to be on point. She has to wait. Let that customer have her say. Let the customer say to her, I am mad and I'm not taking it. I want my money back. And she perhaps will give her money back in a twinkling of an eye. But she cannot do that unless the customer has been satisfied. I have told you how upset, disappointed, and angry I am at your company. The quality of customer service is mental prosperity. This young customer service clerk, or this old customer service clerk with a lot of experience, has to stand still. Have you noticed? They put their hands on the counter and they relax. It's like something cold has fallen on them, and they just stay in a mode of complete not moving. They look at you and you have no idea what they're thinking. But as a customer service person, they have to pull in all the mental faculties they have. They have to recall the information they were taught at training. That's what mental prosperity is. The ability to recall. You go to the gym and the trainer said to you, when you squat in front of a mirror so your knees are not hanging over your toes. Mental prosperity means you will be conscious of that. So when you go down, you will make sure your knees are not going over. Why? You will destroy them. That's all of that has to do with mental prosperity. It's the ability to pull the information you had from before and use it in the present. So when my friend and her husband thought they were going to take me and beat me to a pulp, because they thought for me to create the 5 pillars of prosperity, I was one mad, loose-headed woman. And you think they would know I was one mad, loose-headed woman already anyway. So what would they expect? And I had to take them through the journey and explain to them that all the pillars of prosperity are important. That it's like your 5 fingers. Your thumb, you think that is standing by itself like a sergeant and the major in an army is not important. Try cutting it. Try damaging your thumb. Try straining that thumb. Tie that thumb, put it in a cast, and heaven help you. How are you going to pull that zipper at the back? How are you going to get your hygiene done without that thumb? How are you going to get that glass of water and hold it? Look at me. The thumb is right here. Am I going to hold it like this because the thumb is standing? What do you think will happen? This is what happened. Water fell. So that is the same thing. The pillar of prosperity is weak. The pillar of mental prosperity is trying to help. Physical is taking a blow and trying to say, I will do my job and then I'll help you. I'm mentally saying, I'm emotionally saying, I'll get right to it. I just need to get my emotions in place right now, but I'll help you. Spiritually saying, let's get this, we're going to get this. Financially saying, well, you didn't work last week. They fired you because you couldn't recall the information, so no, I can't help you because we can't pay the bills. That's what happened when the thumb is not able to do its job. That's what happens when those 4 fingers don't come together to hold that glass together. That's what happened with the 5 pillars of prosperity. When one is damaged, the other 2 are suffering, and man, they are suffering. So let us take what I said to my friend. I'll repeat it. Are we empowered to be mentally prosperous, I asked. And I said, if so, what do you think? Wouldn't that be great? And then I said, there are ways to be mentally prosperous. And the thing about it, just like you saw, we are mostly unaware of what to do to be mentally prosperous. We are not aware. Mental prosperity can come about only when we make the effort to transform and when the transformation takes place. Only if the transformation takes place. How do we acquire that kind of prosperity? How do we acquire that? We must do something about it. We must raise our consciousness of the moment. Raise our level of understanding of the situation. We then, of course, have to learn and develop skills and knowledge. And then we have to develop the ability to recall those skills and knowledge and use them when they're needed. That's how mental prosperity comes into the play. So this is what we need to know. Mental prosperity is ours. And it is just as important as physical, emotional, financial, and what is the other one? Spiritual. So let us hold on to those. Let us realize that each of the pillars are needed as much as we need the fingers on one hand to take the glass and to have a sip of water. So sending you light and joy on this wonderful Wednesday evening. I hope those of you that were here got the idea